Welcome back to Morgan Hill Farms. Today I'm going to show you guys a video of some food preservation that I'm doing during this holiday season. So one of the ways that I'm able to preserve so much food that I'm not actually growing at my own property is because I buy those items when they are in season and when they are the cheapest. And for right now, during the holiday season, cranberries and apples are always going to be one of your cheapest options. If you try to buy cranberries when they are not in season and not during the holidays, first, good luck finding them. And second, you're going to pay a lot for them. So this is definitely the time of year to get these kinds of projects done. So the first thing that I am making that my kids absolutely love and will go through so quickly is homemade cranberry juice. Now I do have a steam juicer and I could do that, but we just really love to do it this way and it looks so beautiful. So basically what I am doing is I'm taking my washed cranberries and I'm putting about 1 3/4 cup of fresh cranberries into each quart size mason jar. And then to that, I'm going to add some sugar. Now the sugar content is definitely up to you. Remember that cranberries are very, very tart, so you may want some sweetness in that, but I am using, I believe, a large half cup here. So we are going to fill our jars with that. And then the next step is just simply to take some hot boiling water, pour it over that, and then I'm simply going to water bath these in a water bath canner. And that is all there is to it. Now, you do have to kind of wait for these for a few weeks in order for those cranberries to release their juices and to really get that full cranberry flavor. But the difference in what you're going to taste here in your homemade cranberry juice versus what you get at the store, it is night and day. You will never go back to store-bought after you've done this. It is absolutely amazing. And here is a close-up of what it looks like with all that sugar in there. It just looks like Christmas to me, just like crystals and that red berry, and yeah, it just really is reminiscent of Christmas. And so I'm just adding in that hot boiling water, and you do want that boiling water to be boiling because you want that to help dissolve that sugar. We don't buy a lot of juices in our house. If I do buy them, it is for specific recipes, or maybe I am making some fruit leather that calls for an apple juice, or if I'm making pie filling that calls for a juice or something like that, I'll go ahead and bring that into the house. But other than that, we don't really like to spend our money on juices, and it's a whole lot of sugar in them. And although I am adding quite a bit of sugar into each one of these quart jars, at least I know it's organic sugar, and I know that there's 2 ingredients, cranberries and sugar, and so I am okay with that. And sometimes, honestly, when we make this, we will even dilute it down with water. Sometimes, not all the times, just depending on how tart the cranberries are that year when we're making them. Now, if I had used my steam juicer to make these, basically I would have just put my cranberries in the top of that steam juicer, and I would have let that steam juicer come to temp and boil water, and that steam would burst the berries and they would release their juice. And then all of that juice, without any of the pulp from the cranberries, would come out of the steam juicers and fill my jars. And that's going to create more of a cranberry concentrate. This way is definitely more of a juice. Now, when I water bath these, I will water bath them for 25 minutes, and then in a couple of weeks, they will be ready to be used. And I promise you, these will not last long. I think I ended up making something like 40 quarts of cranberry juice this year. For my next project with these cranberries, what I'm going to do is make cranberry sauce. Now, this is not going to be a whole berry sauce. This is going to be completely pureed, just like that jellied cranberry sauce that you get out of a can. It's a very simple recipe to do. I used the recipe in my Ball Complete canning book, and I actually did 6 times the recipe. Now, if you're wanting to make a big batch of this, I would recommend only doing 5 times the recipe. Because I did 6 times, it took so long for this to gel. And so next time I made a note so that I will only do 5 times the recipe next time. So basically what I did is I put some cranberries in a pot, put a little water in there to prevent them from scorching, and I let them start boiling on the stove until those cranberries popped. Basically they'll just start to split. Then I take those cranberries, put them in my Vitamix, and I blend them up, and then I add them back onto the stovetop with the amount of sugar that is called for. Now, cranberries are so sour, they actually have enough pectin in them. You don't have to add any pectin to them. They will gel all on their own. And you guys are gonna see here that as this starts to boil, the level in this pan is just gonna start rising and rising and rising. And I actually had to get Vinny to help me pour it into one of my much larger stock pots. If you are preserving large amounts of food and trying to get a lot of food on your shelf, you will appreciate having large stock pots in your home so that you can double and triple recipes. If you have to do each batch separately, you will find out how much time that takes and how much wasted time it is. In a second here, Vinny's gonna try to grab this pan and not use pot holders.
It's hot. You burn yourself.
You can see my disapproving mom face there. We did end up getting that back on the stove, and in order to tell whether this was ready to be jarred up or not, you just take a frozen spoon and dip it into your mixture and then run your finger along that spoon, and you can tell if it's gelled or not. So this was definitely ready to be jarred up, and when you are jarring your cranberry jelly sauce, you want to do it quickly because it gels so quickly once it starts to cool off. These are only given a 1/4 inch of headspace, and then you water bath them for just 15 minutes. And this is another one of those products that you will never go back to store-bought. You will always do your own. It is so much better. Now, during the middle of all that cranberry sauce and cranberry juice making, we were working on apples at the same time. So that is what you're seeing here. I had my girls set up. Greenlee was using our apple peeler core slicer. That makes really quick work of apples when I am doing apple pie filling, and that's what we're gonna be making today. And then Brinley is simply taking those sliced apples and just cutting out any of the core or seeds or anything that may have been left in them. So they are working on this for me, and that really helped me out so that I could focus on the cranberries while they did the apples. Now we are using Honeycrisp apples for this, but I typically tend to use either a Pink Lady or a Honeycrisp, any apple that is sweet and a little tart as well. Now, if you can only find sweet apples, just make sure you get nice firm apples. If your apples are mushy, that's not gonna create a great product. But if your apples are very sweet, you can add in a few Granny Smith apples for that tartness. And here's a quick shot of Vinny again getting me my clear gel. He hates it when I film him. Okay, so back to the apple pie making. So you saw all those apples there in that big bowl. And what I'm gonna do with those is I have a pot of water boiling on the stove, and in small batches, I'm going to add those apples to the boiling water. And then after they've boiled for about a minute or so, I'm gonna take them out and put them in another bowl, and I'm gonna cover that with a towel to keep them warm as I work through the remaining fruit. Basically what I'm trying to do is just warm that fruit up so that when I add them into my thickened mixture, which you're seeing here, they'll be nice and warm. Now, when I make apple pie filling, I go ahead and I use a modified cornstarch called Clear Gel, which is one of the only thickening agents that you can use safely when you're canning. And so this mixture here consists of Clear Gel and apple juice, I think a little bit of water, and some lemon juice. I don't add any spices into any of my pie fillings. I can do that afterwards if I want to when I'm opening them up, but it just makes them a little bit more versatile. So anyways, you can see that this is nice and thick. It's bubbling. I'm gonna let this boil for 1 minute. And then after that, I'm gonna remove it from the stove, and I will bring my warm apple slices over to it, and I'll go ahead and start to fold those in until everything is nicely incorporated. Once that's nice and mixed, I'll start filling my jars up. Now, most pie filling recipes call for you to leave 1 inch of headspace, I always find that my clear gel after I water bath it, which is that thick gel that you're seeing that the apples are in, that always expands, and so I get a lot of siphoning. So what I do is I leave 1 1/4 inches of headspace, and that allows enough headspace for the clear gel to expand without siphoning out, because if it siphons out of the jar, you then have food product between your jar and that flat lid, and that can prevent you from getting seals. So I was only able to get 6 quarts of pie filling out of all of those apples, so it was kind of a letdown. I did have an additional 7 that I had from a few months before that I had done, but so that will most likely take us through the year. I did end up buying an extra 40 pounds of apples and making applesauce as well. One thing that I really like about having pie fillings all ready to go is that if we are just kind of craving something sweet, or if the holidays are here and we need to make something, or if I need to bring a dessert somewhere really any time of the year, I have these pie fillings ready, and they're very versatile. So you can use it as a cobbler, as a crisp, as a pie filling. You could use it as a topping on ice cream or a topping on your oatmeal. There's so many things that you can do with them, and so I really like to have these already prepared. It makes my life a whole lot easier having them ready to go. One of the last things that I completed on this day was some cranberry rum sauce. Now this was a new recipe for me, and it involves cranberries, and those little white things in there are apples, and then I have a little container with a bunch of spices in it with cloves and cinnamon. And so basically I'm just gonna cook this down, and then we're gonna add in some dark rum, and it tasted delicious. I actually made 2 batches of this, and I imagined that it would be really good with some goat cheese on some crackers, or really just even sharp cheddar cheese. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you guys are using this season and the opportunity to get these types of things cheaply and getting some more food on your shelf. And here are all the final products, minus the cranberry rum sauce. I did not get that there in time. But please like, subscribe, and share. And thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today.